Hello, everyone. My name is Jeffrey Walton. I'm the editor-in-chief of Chain Drug Review and Mass Market Retailers. Welcome to our video forum. We're thrilled today to have as our guest Debbie Weitzman, President of U.S. Pharmaceutical Distribution at Cardinal Health. Debbie, welcome.
Thanks, Jeff. It's great to see you, although virtually.
Okay, yes. So one of these days we'll be able to meet face-to-face again.
Let's hope so.
Let me begin by asking you this. Cardinal characterizes your role as enabling the power of pharmacy. What does that job entail, and how do you approach that assignment?
Well, my responsibility is quite broad. It really encompasses services to pharmacies of every kind. So that includes closed door pharmacies, such as those in hospitals, or compounding pharmacies, and then also every kind of retail pharmacy, such as the large chains, the regional chains, as well as independent pharmacies that could be in any geography, like a very populated city or a rural small town. Mm-hmm. So the common thread for every pharmacy I work with is really the expertise and the training of the pharmacist who works there. So to enable the power of pharmacy, our mission is to elevate that pharmacist to be part of the patient care team. Mm-hmm. Pharmacists are really accessible health professionals, and survey after survey shows that they are amongst the most highly trusted healthcare professional. In fact, they're the most highly trusted profession almost of any kind. Mm-hmm. And so at Cardinal, I know we're best known for delivering totes every day in a reliable way of medications as well as front end, but we're really going well beyond that now. We're actively engaged in providing services and developing new services that will enable pharmacists to take a more proactive role in helping patients stay healthy. So Jeff, it's really exciting for me because I have a very talented team of professionals, many of whom are pharmacists, and they work with our customers to identify those opportunities that will be helpful to them so we can make new tools and new programs that would help their business while they're also helping patients. So that, in a nutshell, is why we say we are enabling the power of pharmacy.
Mm-hmm. Well, let me ask you this. Last time I think we did an interview, which was a year or so ago, you guys had just purchased mScripts, which is a patient engagement and adherence company. How has that helped Cardinal's business? But I guess even more important or equally important, how has that helped your customers?
Yeah, well, it's been an exciting journey. It's been about 18 months now since we acquired mScripts. And you may recall from that interview that prior to mScripts, we also had acquired over the years Outcomes, MTM, Telepharm, and Marixa. Mm-hmm. So mScripts helped us really bring everything together with a patient engagement platform. It really helped us round out the suite of services that we already had for medication adherence. It's really all about reaching the patient where they will respond. So Outcomes MTM engages the patient through the pharmacist in a live engagement with a local pharmacist, or as a backup to that, we run a telephonic program which we can back up the pharmacies, but that doesn't work for everybody. I don't know about you, Jeff, but I pretty much never answer my cell phone if I don't recognize the telephone number.
I'm with you on that.
Everybody's with me on that, yeah. So that's when a text can come in handy because it's a kind of, you can't ignore it. The text comes through your phone and it's going to be branded with your pharmacy. So that's where mScripts comes in. It's really helped us embed that idea of patient engagement into all of our thinking. Also, it's a very sophisticated technology platform that we are using to develop some other new services, which hopefully I can talk to you about in our next interview.
So obviously, COVID has put the entire healthcare system under, pretty severe strain. How has Cardinal managed to keep the supply chain moving?
Well, with a few months behind us now, I like to talk about the pandemic as kind of a roller coaster ride. Mm-hmm. The initial surge was really intense. During that period, we had extraordinary volume, and I could not be prouder of the way our teams all pulled together to meet this unprecedented demand. We've faced a lot of natural disasters, unfortunately, in the past, and we have very robust business continuity plans. but we certainly were facing a next level type situation because it was happening simultaneously all over the whole country. And first and foremost, we also had to keep our teammates on the front line in our distribution centers healthy. So I'm really happy to say that, the Cardinal team performed at the highest possible level. We never had to shut down a single facility. And we had a lot of really amazing stories of resilience and creativity that came out of that period. But most of all, the communication between our teams and our customers, that communication really carried the day during that period.
Mm-hmm.
So after those 2 months of sort of unprecedented demand, actually our volume dipped down lower than normal for a period. And that's when people were not able to see their doctors face to face, elective surgeries were essentially all canceled. So that slower period, we put it to great use. We debriefed on everything that had happened, and we started planning for a second surge and for the new normal. So we always do a lessons learned kind of exercise after an unplanned event. So this was certainly the mother of all unplanned events. So we did a lot of, deep diving on the things that went well, things that needed to be improved. And then we did a lot of improvising during that time, and we put those improvised solutions kind of into full-time use. So right now, I would say that we're basically running at normal volumes. But there's certainly nothing normal about the way we're operating overall, with all of our administrative and managerial staff still working from home. Obviously, everybody who has to be in an office or a distribution center has to wear masks and take all the precautions and the health tracking apps we're using and so forth. And, not having any meetings to visit customers or traveling, these are not normal things, but from a business continuity standpoint, we're basically back to normal. And with respect to looking ahead, although we're all hoping there is no second surge, we are prepared to meet that challenge, if it happens. So we've been working very closely with our manufacturer partners and directly with customers to anticipate and to plan ahead and to assure that we have the availability of drugs that are needed for the different types of pharmacies that are out there. As you know, what we need for a retail pharmacy is quite different than what we need in a hospital pharmacy. So we've been working really diligently on all of those different needs for our customers and preparing for a variety of different scenarios. So I feel we're really prepared for what's coming.
Debbie, how concerned are you that shortages of active pharmaceutical ingredients could affect the supply chain?
Yeah, well, I think I have a concern that any shortage would affect any patient. Let's put it that way. Shortages are not something new. We've faced shortages in very key categories of products over the years, and they tend to, be by category. Unfortunately, going into the pandemic, we were already facing shortages of key products related to, intubating patients in hospitals. So actually, our customers are pretty well schooled in how to, work around these situations. And we do the same thing. We educate ourselves, and we know what the alternatives are. We know alternative A, alternative B, alternative C, and we're working all those angles. So now I feel that we've seen the worst of it, and most of the obstacles that we're going to face in the future, I think, are going to be to a lesser degree than what we already saw during this pandemic. So I feel pretty confident that, shortages will never be zero. They'll never go away completely, but that we've all kind of, looked at the ways to work around the situations and come up with solutions.
Earlier, you indicated that you deal with the full spectrum of pharmacies and healthcare providers. How do you think the different segments of healthcare have performed in the last 6 months or 6 or 8 months?
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't think there's anybody who doesn't agree with me when I say that the response of all healthcare providers, including pharmacists and every single person who works in a pharmacy, it's been, really nothing short of heroic. These people really literally put their lives on the line every day to step up and make themselves available to do whatever was needed. And personally, for me, it was very heartwarming to see the appreciation that went out to all of our frontline workers in tributes and TV ads. Now that sports are coming back, people are, doing all sorts of tributes through sports vehicles. school kids. I really just love seeing people come together in general to celebrate something that's just such a basic human thing, but that they recognize what was going on. So that was great. And I really believe that community pharmacy is willing to continue expanding their role. I'm really pleased that the federal government has passed some rulings that will allow pharmacists to go further and play a greater role in testing and vaccinations that are, happening now and coming soon. I really hope that state board pharmacies will support that. I think that our industry trade groups also have done a great job representing pharmacy and getting the message out about how crucial they are as part of the solution to the crisis that we're in. And at some point, hopefully soon, we're going to need to be all addressing COVID vaccines and, make it into kind of part of our normal annual regimen, just like a flu shot. So we need to make it just as available as a flu shot, maybe even more available than a flu shot. So the only way to really effectively do that nationwide is to include community pharmacy.
And is Cardinal, I assume, gearing up for distribution of one or more vaccines as soon as they become available?
Yes, we're involved in the process. As you know, it's being run by our government, so it's complex and there's a lot of players involved, but we are certainly ready, willing, and able to do our part.
What about the cold chain requirements? How formidable an obstacle will that be to getting this vaccine in wide distribution?
Yeah, well, I would say that, that is why the government is taking control of the process and making sure it's a coordinated effort and it's really being recognized as a public-private endeavor because the capacity will be pretty vast. So we have to think about vaccination in phases. The ultra cold chain version that's going to come out initially, I think, will be for first responders and the most critical patients. What we're really focused on more is for the long haul. When we have more options out there, there's multiple vendors. We do anticipate eventually having routine cold chain as well as even potentially shelf stable. I mean, the long-term vision on this has to be, that's hopefully science catches up to the point where this becomes a self-administered, simple kind of test along with a routine vaccination.
Let me ask you one final question. In light of all we've been discussing and the recent experience with COVID, how do you see the healthcare system moving forward once we're past the pandemic and addressing the persistent problems of access, quality, and cost?
Well, I think it's safe to say there's not a lot of agreement at the level of government or even society about how we can really effectively change our healthcare system, but we actually do agree that there needs to be change. So I think we have to focus on the things that we have control over within our industry. And for me, that would be improving patient outcomes, making access easier, and reducing the cost of care. And those are the things that within the pharmaceutical supply chain and the pharmacy industry, we can impact. I mean, let's do some of the basic statistics that everybody quotes, which is 20 or 30% of prescriptions just never get filled. 50% of chronic care meds are not taken properly. And 70% of hospital admissions could probably be avoided with proper medication adherence. So, these are statistics that people quote all the time. But if you think about it, the concept of medication adherence, it's really been around for decades. How do we move the needle? What's different now and what's new is using data and using predictive analytics to really proactively identify patients and make our efforts more targeted. So we don't have so much a shotgun approach to try to touch everybody in the population, but a more laser focus on those individuals that can move the needle on the cost structure of our system. So that's something that we're working hard on. Our Connect Plus platform already has a lot of that capability built in. And with some of the things we talked about earlier around patient engagement, it's very important to create that targeting to patients. And then, we're working with Connect Plus on a network that includes pharmacists, health insurance plans, prescribers, the patient, and layer on now very specific information that can address, the socioeconomic situation of a patient as well as even their behaviors. So this is the kind of initiative that could be a step change for patients. And then as a result, that would impact in a positive way the overall cost of the healthcare system. So it's a pretty long answer, Jeff. I mean, the short answer is that pharmacy must play an instrumental role in transforming our healthcare system to make it more accessible and more data-driven. So I truly believe this can lead to better outcomes and for a lower cost.
Well, that's great. I mean, there's reason to be optimistic, and that's a good note to end on. Debbie, thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
Yeah, nice spending time with you too, Jeff. Thank you.
Thank you.